Well, welcome back. Our guest tonight is considered by critics and his substantial public as one of the most original, outspoken, imaginative writers in America. Plus, he's very popular on the college circuit because he's so articulate, passionate, and outspoken and completely unpredictable. Ladies and gentlemen, Harlan Ellison. Harlan, I'm absolutely delighted that you're here. The reason I had to say he's unpredictable, Harlan was not due to be here until after the next segment, but he said, I want to see this thing about blondes, so here he is. Now, the film that you're about to see was produced back in 1968 and was produced by the Department of the Navy. Now, to some of us, it's become sort of a cult classic. Take a look at it. It's called Blondes Prefer Gentlemen. There are no writer-producer credits, which, as you'll see, is the only smart thing the writer and the producer did. It's not in black and white, but what is called government color. The exact cost to the taxpayer is unknown, but it's estimated Boy George spends more on lipstick and eyeliner. The three people featured in this steamy triangle are a sailor who is a nerd.
We'll call him Charlie.
A sailor who's a gentleman.
Let's call him Jack.
And a good-looking blonde whom the announcer calls...
A good-looking blonde.
That's because we all know a sailor doesn't care what a blonde's name is. And the plot of this perennially popular potboiler is...
Whom does the blonde prefer? Well, the very first date with each young man tells the story.
Now, before we get to the juicy parts and the Navy's last tango in Tijuana, we want you to know that coming up is the only naval officer who'd comment on camera about this film that he'd seen 18 times, but only if he could wear his sunglasses.
But it's a movie that deals with what sailors are trying to do when they have a little fun. They get off those ships, it's time for them to have a little liberty, so they go there and have a lot of fun.
So on with the film and the Navy's idea of a little fun. Charlie the nerd gets first crack at good-looking blonde, but can't wait to get his hands on her hors d'oeuvres. Using his mouth as a finger bowl, Charlie shows he learned etiquette watching Jaws. The Navy contends in this classic of culture that women may not kiss on the first date, but they always eat. And the millions of men in the military who line up to see it are supposed to learn the proper way to win women's hearts and minds and lips. At the dinner table, Charlie the nerd has his next chance to make a big impression on good-looking blonde. He does so with big slurps, big bites, big scrapes, big spills, big puffs, and then fingers everyone's dinner buns with his big mitts, upsetting the Navy's announcer more than good-looking blonde.
Charlie, stop it!
So much for first date and dinner with Charlie. Next night, same setting, same hors d'oeuvres, same blonde, new dress. It's Gentleman Jack's turn to impress good-looking blonde with how delicate a diner he is.
Aha, there's the correct way to clean the fingers.
At the dinner table, away from his naval post, Jack displays his Emily post. He knows not to wear his napkin like a bib, and when it's time to eat, he knows the order in which to use his utensils.
You begin at the outside and work in toward the plate as the various courses arrive.
I don't know if the blonde's impressed, but I am. I wear a vest, and I didn't even know that. So I asked another man in uniform.
Do you know in what order you're supposed to use your utensils?
It was a toughie.
First thing to use would be your fork.
Isn't it the spoon first? Salad, fork, soup, spoon.
I didn't know there was an order.
Well, you eat with chopstick.
He felt like Charlie the nerd. Meanwhile, back at our Blockbuster, when Jack is finished with his knife, he even knows where and how it's placed. But does our naval officer who's seen it 18 times?
The sharp edge should face outward from the plate.
It's placed across the upper half of the plate, or on the right side, blade facing in.
Jack also knows what to do with his fork when there's food on it, and more amazingly, when there's no food on it.
It rests on the plate just below the knife.
If I like a guy, I don't care where he puts his fork.
At the table, not only does Jack know how to handle his utensils like a gentleman, but also his buns.
He's an incredible man, all right.
How do I handle my buns?
Are broken in half and then into smaller pieces. Looks as though they're all having fun.
Every man in uniform who sees this film hopes to have as much fun on his first date.
So that's how dinner with Jack and the blonde young lady progressed. And you've seen Charlie and the young lady in the same situation. Well, who got the girl?
I would rather be with Charlie, who is a sloppy eater. That would be more fun.
You don't want to eat with a pig? Well, some stuff, you know, you have to eat with your fingers, you know. It's like the chicken, it's finger licking good.
When I date guys, personality is all that matters. I don't care if they're a slob or not.
Jack is my kind of man, and he is gentleman, and I like him.
I don't care how polite Jack is. If he doesn't have 50 bucks, forget it.
At the end of the film and dinner, Charlie the nerd gets around to asking good-looking blonde for a second fun date.
Tomorrow night.
I'm sorry, Charlie, I'm busy.
Okay, next Saturday night.
Oh, I already have a date then, too.
Well, maybe some other time then, okay?
Sure, maybe some other time. Good night.
Charlie the nerd winds up with the only male dialogue in this waterlogged love story, but Jack the silent type winds up with the only female.
Why did Jack get the girl?
Oh, she ran off with Jack because there were no Marines around.
Jack was in a big condominium.
Jack is probably the only sailor without herpes.
Oh, you know.
Blondes prefer gentlemen, and so does everybody else.
Hold it. It's not the end. Come on back, Jack. What did our men in uniform really learn after all these years watching this film? Manners may change, but one thing remains constant. Listen carefully.
Maybe some other time then, okay?
Sure, maybe some other time. Good night.
Good-looking blondes lie.
When we come back, we'll get the opinion of Harlan Ellison, not only of that movie, but the rest of the world. We'll be right back.
Stand by for the movies with Cal Worthington and his dog Spot. Stand by for I Spy with Cal Worthington and his dog Spot. Stand by for the movies with Cal Worthington and his dog Spot.
Welcome back. We're talking to Harlan Ellison. Harlan, what were your impressions of the movie?
I laughed, I cried, it became a part of me.
When you were watching it, though, as soon as we started talking about the etiquette of the knife, you knew exactly where it went. Why?
One of my minor areas of expertise is haute cuisine. And people talk about haute cuisine or high cuisine. There are only 5. And in the learning of that, I learned such things as you eat from the outside in with your silverware, and you put the blade forward towards you in case it falls off and doesn't cut someone's throat. You know, that's...
Harlan...
that was fairly dull.
There are a lot of people who work in television who don't have much admiration for the medium. I must say that in the last year and a half, half a dozen times I've heard executives, when you hear writers arguing for something that they want to do on television, one of the executives will say, well, it's just television. Mm. Why do so many people in the business have such a disdain for it?
You want a straight answer? You want a funny answer? I mean, working in television is like putting in time in the Egyptian House of the Dead. You work very hard at something, and then anyone who has any opinion at all comes in and messes in it, and they alter it. And you find that it's what Judith Pauline Kael called, it's an art form being run by businessmen. And since they know the bottom line, but they don't understand even how a story is told, they will alter anything to make it convenient for themselves. There's also such a thing as least resistance programming, which means they program most television for the intellectual level of, I don't know, an Alabama redneck. And
do you really think that's true?
Oh, I know it's true. I've been working in the damn medium for 25 years.
No, but I mean, do you think they deliberately say the average intelligence of the viewer is about 12 or 11?
I would love to be able to say it isn't true, but I've heard it said too many times, if not in those words, in saying, well, they won't understand this. And that's called, when they do that in a script, when they alter a script to reach down to people rather than trying to lift an audience, they say, well, we have to dumb it up. That's the phrase they use, we have to dumb up the script. And that's why television is famous for telling you 3 times. They say, that man's going to come in the door. Then the man comes in the door, he says, he came in the door. You know, you get it 3 times just in case you missed it. And it's murder for anybody who cares about what they write or what they create.
Well, there's an interesting dichotomy in your career. You wrote these brilliant critiques of television in the Glass-Teat when you were doing that column for the Free Press back in the late 60s. And now they're taught in communications and journalism classes around the country. You attack the medium rather viciously, articulately, but viciously. But at the same time, some of the things that you've done in television don't look like the kind of credits that you would want to put on your resume.
What are you getting at, John? What hideous thing from my past do you want to bring up? Out with it, John, out with it.
Well, I mean, there were some shows that you had written...
All right, I did a flying nun, John. All right, now, I'll tell you, so that you don't think I did it for the money, which is, of course, what everybody thinks all across America. I did it because Sally Field, I wanted a date with Sally Field. That's what, honest to God, it is one of the most bizarre stories. They showed me this pilot before the show went on the air, and I fell desperately in love with Sally Field. She was a knockout and a terrific actress even in that series. And I said, I will do one of those. I said, but I want to be there when you shoot it because I want to meet Sally Field. I figured I might get lucky. Who knew, right? I'm no nobler than you or anybody watching the show, John. And so the problem was that when I was doing the writing, I was at a writers' conference in Milford, Pennsylvania. And I fell afoul of a gang of kids who were stealing cars and robbing houses. And I got into a big fist fight with them. And they sick Kong on me. And the fight consisted of me leaping off the ground to catch him with a left, and I got him in the snout. The single blow I landed. He then proceeded to pound me into the ground. I kept getting up like Cool Hand Luke. He kept pounding me back down. I wound up in the hospital with both hands broken in Milford, Pennsylvania, with these two fingers, which are all I use to type with anyhow. I had this typewriter in my lap, and I was doing the script. So the producer keeps calling me, where's the script? Where's the script? I said, all right, so you don't get it. So they put on organ music. What's the big thing? They put it on, and they said, unfortunately, the script was too Jewish. So they had to do some work with the script, and I took my name off it, and I never got to meet Sally Field.
Oh, how sad.
It's crippled me. It's blighted my life.
Did you ever tell her the story? Did you ever meet her at all?
No, I've never met her. Never met her at all.
Did you ever decide to maybe send her the script?
No. One of the things you learn is that people who have any degree of notoriety at all, I mean, I have very low-level notoriety, and we had a psycho at the house last week, a bag lady sleeping in my carport. And it's true. And we finally had to, I have to go after her with a ball bat and said, lady, get out of here. I don't want you sleeping here anymore. And you just don't bother people who have any kind of fame. And she must get a lot of... I didn't bother her.
Oh, we're going to take a break right now, but when we come back, Harlan...
You're going to have Sally Field here for me?
No. We'll be right back after this.
Oh, okay.
Welcome back. We're talking to Harlan Ellison. Harlan, my son Christopher, who's 17 now, is a real a Trekkie. And,
poor thing.
One of his favorite episodes was also the favorite of Leonard Nimoy. That was City on the...
Edge of Forever.
City on the Edge of Forever.
A title with which I am familiar.
I mean, he just loves it, and Leonard loves it too. Now, you did it. It was an Alfred Hitchcock show, and it was very autobiographical.
Yeah, it was called Memo from Purgatory, and it was based on when I wrote my first book, which was a book on juvenile delinquency. I went and joined a kid gang in Brooklyn and ran with them for 10 weeks and did a novel about it. Well, and then the autobiography subsequently, when I went to jail for the book, subsequently, they did that, and they starred James Caan as me, which I thought was typecasting.
Oh, that's funny that you should mention that, because we knew it was Jimmy, and sort of in honor of the fact that you're here tonight, we have a Barbour poll, and Rhonda Bates is out on the street conducting it. I want you to take a look at this. You see it right here.
Everybody's life would probably make a great movie. If they made a movie about your life, who would you pick to play the part?
Probably Charles Bronson.
Sophia Loren.
Barbara Streisand.
Raquel Welch.
What star do you want to play you?
As a woman, huh? My favorite actress, Jane Fonda.
Ronald Reagan. He's the best actor I know.
Who's the biggest stud around? Tom Selleck? Oh, I look like Tom Selleck. Yeah. I'd have Tom Selleck do it because I look so much like him.
Well, they told me that I look something like Walter Matthau, and I've got to check that out. I intend to get my secretary to write his secretary a note, and we'll have lunch one day and find out, do we look like each other, and do we act like each other? So, if so, maybe I'll get him to dub for me.
Me.
I would like to say that, but I would say maybe, I don't know, maybe Richard Pryor.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe Dustin Hoffman?
Robert Redford. Robert Redford.
Jane Kennedy, I guess. I like her.
Why?
'Cause she's gorgeous and I am too.
Oh!
Al Pacino, because he's intense.
I'd pick maybe Brian Torchy or something. I don't know, because he's Oriental, and I don't know any other Oriental stars.
Meryl Streep.
Diana Ross. The woman lives like I like to live. She has everything that I'd love to have, and I think she could play Barbara. I mean, I'm broke, but I still try to live the glamorous life. Diana Ross would be it for me. Yes. Yes. Matter of fact, I hope she's listening. I'd like to play her life.
Now that Jimmy Caan played you as a young man, seriously, if they made a movie out of your life, who would you want to play you?
Oh, Richard Dreyfuss.
You know that Richard would be absolutely perfect for you.
Yeah, well, he did me once. He did me in, I came back from Europe and The Goodbye Girl had just come out. And he called me up. I've known Richard for years. And he said, you'll notice some mannerisms that I used in the picture. And he says, they'll look familiar. And he was doing some of the things that I do. And I tried to sue him, but he wouldn't have it. It was...
What has been, for you, Harlan, really the most rewarding thing about your painful life?
Being a pain... Am I allowed to say that? No, it's ABC.
No.
It's all right at this hour. I get it this hour. It's all right. There are some people who are put on this planet, I suppose, and their idea of a good life is to be well-liked. I learned very early in life that that was never going to happen to me. I was not going to go to my grave beloved. So I decided instead just to be as big a gadfly as I could be and get in people's hair and annoy Ronald Reagan as much as possible and Jerry Falwell. That's,
you know, maybe God intended that for your destiny because to irritate people at that part of the anatomy, he made you the right size.
A heightest remark, eh? A heightest remark.
We'll be right back after this.
Nancy.
What, hon?
Sorry to wake you up, hon, but I need your help on something important.
Oh?
In spelling. Now, doesn't you usually follow a Q?
Usually why?
Well, it doesn't look right here.
What doesn't?
Well, a Qaddafi. Q-U-D, it just doesn't look right.
Hon, you don't have to write your own speeches. Dictate it like the one when you called him flaky. Let your secretary worry about the spelling.
No, I need to do this myself.
Oh, honey, get some rest. Lay off him for a while. There are more important things in the world to put your mind to.
Look, is it K-A...
I think there's an H in
I got
somewhere.
it. K-H-A-D-A-F-I. That's it, hon. Thank you. I got
How do
it.
you know that's it? I'm not quite sure.
Well, it fits.
What do you mean it fits?
Well, look, right here. 3 across. A 7-letter word for Libyan leader. Doesn't the New York Times have a great crossword? Look at 8 down.
Good night, honey.
Good night, Nancy.
Thanks for watching. Harlan Ellison, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, be sure to get Harlan's brilliant book of essays right here, An Edge in My Voice. Tomorrow night, Joe Bologna, Renee Taylor, and remember, folks, don't just be good for something. Good night and good luck. Now what you got to do is we got to get a pen. Here's your book.
Tomorrow, follow America's astronauts as they walk on the moon on Ripley's Believe It or Not. Then Sable and Zachary conspire a plot of blackmail on the Colbys. After, the Philippines ex-president Marcos and his exiled family, how they got their money and how they spent those millions and how they covered it up on 2020.